Imagine walking into a courtroom where the air feels so thick you can barely breathe. The silence is deafening, and everyone is staring at one man sitting at a wooden table. That man is Richard Rawlings, the larger-than-life TV star who built an empire with his bare hands and his famous gas monkey garage. His slicked-back hair is messy, his shirt is wrinkled from weeks of legal battles, and his usually confident smile is nowhere to be found. Then Judge Alanir Simmons speaks the words that will change everything forever: 15 years in federal prison with no chance of parole for the first 10 years. What happens next is something nobody in that courtroom will ever forget. Richard Rawlings doesn't move at first. He sits there like a statue, his face completely blank as if his brain can't process what he just heard. But then reality hits him like a speeding truck. His body starts to shake, his knees give out, and he collapses face first onto the courtroom table before sliding down to the cold floor like a rag doll. The room erupts in gasps and shocked whispers. His ex-wife covers her mouth with both hands, her eyes wide with disbelief. Dennis Collins, his longtime business partner and friend, jumps up from his seat and tries to rush forward, but federal agents quickly hold him back with stern looks and firm hands. Paramedics storm into the courtroom like they're responding to a car crash. For 7 long, terrifying minutes, they work on Richard while everyone watches in stunned silence. When he finally opens his eyes, all the color has drained from his face. He looks like a ghost of the man who once commanded every room he walked into. They don't lead him away in handcuffs like you see in the movies. Instead, they roll him out on a stretcher with an oxygen mask covering his face. The man who built a television empire with his charisma and swagger now looks broken and barely recognizable. Raymond Wilkins, a veteran courthouse officer who has seen plenty of celebrity downfalls over the years, puts it perfectly when he says that when a sentence like that drops and you realize your life is over, something just snaps inside your brain. And for Richard Rawlings, that's exactly what happened. For more than 10 years, he was the symbol of high-energy car culture and reality TV gold. But this 3-week trial revealed a much darker truth that none of his millions of fans ever saw coming. The story that led to this devastating courtroom moment started in the most ordinary way possible. It was late 2023 when the Internal Revenue Service decided to take a closer look at the books for Gas Monkey Garage. At first, it seemed like a routine audit, the kind that happens to successful businesses all the time. The investigators found a few small problems here and there, but nothing that seemed too serious. Just some minor accounting mistakes that could easily be explained away. But as they dug deeper and deeper into the financial records, they started to uncover something much more disturbing. What began as simple bookkeeping errors quickly turned into a massive investigation that would shake the automotive world to its core. The audit revealed a complicated web of suspicious financial activity that made investigators' eyes light up with concern. They found unusual debt patterns, secret bank accounts hidden in other countries, and personal expenses that had been disguised as legitimate business costs. Martinez Suarez, a retired IRS investigator with decades of experience, later said that these were textbook warning signs of serious financial fraud. But what prosecutors discovered next sent shock waves through the entire courtroom and beyond. They accused Richard Rawlings of running one of the most sophisticated vehicle identification number fraud operations that the automotive industry had ever seen. For nearly 8 years, according to the government, Rawlings had been orchestrating a complex scheme to change the identification numbers on dozens of classic cars that were sold through Gas Monkey Garage. This wasn't just sloppy paperwork or innocent mistakes. This was calculated, deliberate fraud happening on an industrial scale that fooled buyers all over the world. The evidence showed that many of the amazing cars featured on Fast and Loud, those rare models that were presented as once-in-a-lifetime discoveries, were actually ordinary vehicles that had been disguised with fake identification numbers and forged documents. These counterfeit classics were sold for sky-high prices, bringing in millions of dollars in illegal profits. The jury sat in stunned silence as they watched clips of Rawlings bragging on television about these miraculous car finds, while expert witnesses explained just how statistically impossible it would be to actually discover so many rare vehicles. And that was just the beginning of the deception. The fraud ran much deeper than anyone could have imagined. Assistant U.S. Attorney Carolyn Morales revealed bombshell after bombshell during the trial. She showed that Richard Rawlings had gone far beyond just bending the truth about his cars. He had created entire fake histories for dozens of vehicles, complete with forged dealer paperwork, fake build sheets, and expertly counterfeited documents that proved the cars' supposed valuable backgrounds. These fake documents were so good that they fooled even the most experienced classic car collectors and experts. Some of these fraudulent cars were shipped to buyers in other countries, which triggered serious federal wire fraud charges that carry steep penalties. But what truly shocked everyone in the courtroom was the testimony about betrayal from within his own organization. 3 former Gas Monkey Garage employees took the witness stand and testified about a secret section of the shop that was specially equipped with tools for changing vehicle identification numbers. According to their testimony, this restricted area was completely off-limits during any television filming and could only be accessed by Rawlings and a small group of trusted employees. Prosecutor Daniel Keller didn't hold back during his closing arguments. He painted a picture of Richard Rawlings not as a passionate car enthusiast chasing his dreams, but as the mastermind behind a long-running criminal conspiracy. What the television-watching public saw as a high-energy car restoration show, Keller argued, was actually just a clever front for a well-executed fraud operation that stole millions of dollars from unsuspecting buyers. The defense team fought back as hard as they could. James Westfield, Rawlings' attorney, argued that his client was simply a passionate car lover who got caught up in the complicated world of classic car paperwork and documentation. He claimed that classic car values are highly subjective and that what prosecutors were calling deception was really just misinterpretation of complex automotive history. But the jury wasn't convinced by these arguments. After deliberating for just 6 hours, they returned with their verdict: guilty on all 18 criminal counts, including wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy, and tax evasion. The implications of the conviction were absolutely staggering. By disguising ordinary classic cars as ultra-rare finds, Rawlings had created a system specifically designed to manipulate market values and trick buyers into paying much more than the cars were actually worth. Prosecutors demonstrated to the jury how even small modifications combined with falsified documents could transform a $75,000 Dodge Charger into a supposed rare Hemi worth over $300,000. And Rawlings' fame and television celebrity only made the scam more believable and effective. As a TV star, his word carried enormous weight in the collector community. People thought they were buying authentic pieces of automotive history with a celebrity endorsement. What they actually received were high-end counterfeits with a famous person's seal of approval. The prosecution revealed that Richard Rawlings had access to sophisticated printing equipment that could produce nearly perfect copies of original factory documentation. These weren't just sloppy fake documents that anyone could spot. They were so precise and detailed that they fooled collectors, insurance companies, and even elite auction houses that specialize in rare automobiles. In total, investigators uncovered more than $14 million in fraudulent profits tied to approximately 40 classic cars that had been sold with fake or altered identification numbers. But in the end, it was Rawlings' own growing ambition and greed that ultimately brought him down. As his television fame continued to skyrocket, he began targeting increasingly valuable and rare vehicles for his fraud scheme. The turning point came when he sold a 1967 Shelby GT500 to a wealthy European collector for an eye-popping $1.2 million. But when the buyer tried to get insurance for the vehicle, the truth came crashing down like a house of cards. It was nothing more than a heavily modified regular Mustang that was actually worth less than $200,000. The buyer's video testimony, which was played in court, was absolutely heartbreaking to watch. He spoke about how he had idolized Richard Rawlings for years, trusted his word completely, and felt utterly betrayed when he discovered the truth about his expensive purchase. Prosecutors drove home their point by playing a damning audio recording of Rawlings personally vouching for the car's authenticity, which sealed the wire fraud charge that would help send him to prison. The scandal sent shock waves throughout the entire classic car collector community. Expert witnesses testified that the case had cast a dark shadow over the authenticity of countless high-profile vehicles that had been bought and sold over the years. Auction houses scrambled to re-verify any vehicle that had ever been linked to Rawlings or Gas Monkey Garage. The damage to the industry's reputation was immeasurable and will likely last for many years to come. The fallout from the conviction came fast and furious. Discovery Channel immediately severed all ties with Rawlings and pulled Fast and Loud from all of its platforms. In a matter of just a few days, the once glorified brand completely collapsed. For millions of fans around the world, it was an absolute gut punch. The wild, beer-guzzling, engine-revving outlaw they had cheered for and supported was gone forever, replaced by a convicted fraudster sitting in a federal courtroom. Richard Rawlings had always lived life in the fast lane, taking risks and pushing boundaries in everything he did. But in the end, It was that same reckless speed and unchecked greed that sent him crashing headfirst into this devastating scandal. The man who built an empire on the foundation of trust and authenticity had destroyed it all through lies and deception. For years, Fast and Loud had been more than just a television show about fixing cars. It was a lifestyle brand, a cultural phenomenon that celebrated the gritty world of automotive restoration. Richard Rawlings, with his Texas charm and untamed charisma, had been the perfect face for this movement. He could sell anyone on anything, whether it was a beat-up 1969 Camaro or a dream of automotive glory. Born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, Rawlings had been working on car engines since before most kids learned how to ride a bicycle. By the time he was 14 years old, he already owned his first car and was spending every free moment learning how engines worked. He tried his hand at other businesses over the years, including a printing company, but the roar of a powerful engine always called him back to his true passion. In 2002, he made the biggest gamble of his life. He sold his successful printing business, took every penny he had saved, and opened Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas. It wasn't just another repair shop. It was going to be a movement that would change how people thought about classic car restoration. Car lovers from around the world eventually tuned in to watch Rawlings and his skilled crew take forgotten, rusted-out machines and transform them into absolutely stunning masterpieces. They didn't just fix cars the traditional way. They gave these forgotten vehicles a completely new life with modern touches, extra power, and unique style that turned heads wherever they went. From a 1968 Shelby Mustang to a 1977 Firebird Trans Am, Rawlings had put together a jaw-dropping collection of restored classics. But he didn't just restore them exactly as they were originally built. He reimagined them, adding his own personal flair and modern performance upgrades that made them even better than when they first rolled off the assembly line. It was raw passion combined with real skill, and it made for absolutely incredible television. The show captured the authentic excitement of bringing dead cars back to life, and viewers couldn't get enough of it. But behind all that success and fame, a darker story was being written. The same ambition and risk-taking attitude that made Richard Rawlings a television star also led him down a path of fraud and deception that would eventually destroy everything he had built. The 3-week trial revealed just how extensive the fraud operation had become. Witnesses testified about the secret area of the garage where vehicle identification numbers were altered using specialized tools and equipment. They described a carefully organized system for creating fake documentation that could fool even the most experienced collectors and appraisers. And they explained how Rawlings used his television fame to add credibility to the fraudulent cars he was selling. The prosecution's case was built on a mountain of evidence that seemed impossible to dispute. They had financial records, witness testimony, expert analysis, and even audio recordings of Rawlings making false claims about the cars he was selling. The defense tried their best to create reasonable doubt, but the evidence was simply overwhelming. When the verdict was finally read, the courtroom was completely silent except for the sound of Richard Rawlings' world collapsing around him. 15 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole for the first 10 years. It was a sentence that would effectively end his career, destroy his reputation, and take away the best years of his life. The physical collapse that followed the sentencing was a dramatic end to what had been a dramatic trial. The man who had always seemed invincible, who had built an empire through sheer force of personality, had been brought to his knees by his own greed and dishonesty. The image of him being wheeled out of the courtroom on a stretcher will forever be remembered as the moment when one of reality television's biggest stars fell from grace in the most spectacular way possible. For the millions of fans who had followed Richard Rawlings' career over the years, the conviction was a betrayal that cut deep. They had believed in his authenticity, trusted his expertise, and supported his brand. To discover that so much of what they had seen and admired was built on lies and fraud was devastating. The Fast and Loud phenomenon that had brought so much joy and excitement to car enthusiasts around the world was revealed to be nothing more than an elaborate con game. The ripple effects of the scandal continue to be felt throughout the automotive community. Classic car values have been questioned, auction houses have increased their authentication procedures, and collectors have become much more cautious about high-profile purchases. The trust that took decades to build in the collector car market was shattered in a matter of weeks. As Richard Rawlings begins his long journey through the federal prison system, the automotive world is left to pick up the pieces and try to rebuild the trust that was lost. His story serves as a powerful reminder that fame and success can never justify dishonesty and fraud. No matter how charismatic or talented someone might be, there are always consequences for crossing the line into criminal behavior. The rise and fall of Richard Rawlings will be remembered as one of the most dramatic celebrity downfalls in recent memory. From the heights of television stardom to the depths of federal prison, his story is a cautionary tale about what happens when ambition and greed overcome honesty and integrity. The man who once seemed to have it all lost everything in pursuit of even more, and the price he paid was ultimately much higher than any car he ever sold. If this incredible story of rise and fall shocked you as much as it shocked me, make sure you hit that like button and share this video with anyone who loves cars or can't believe how far some people will go for money. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest investigations into the scandals that rock the entertainment world. What do you think about Richard Rawlings' dramatic downfall? Was justice served, or do you think the sentence was too harsh? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you have any other celebrity scandal stories you'd like us to cover, drop those suggestions too. Until next time, remember that the truth always comes out eventually, no matter how well someone thinks they've hidden it.